Hello you guys and welcome back. So today I didn't really feel like being on camera, so it kind of is what it is. But I do apologize obviously for the noise in the background that you might hear because for the last couple of weeks I've been having some issues with my computer and my sound system. So I've just had to kind of record with pretty much all the noise in the background and do my best to kind of suppress it. So I do apologize about that. But regardless, let's get into this Love is Blind Season 6 reunion. Okay, so they did have a live audience for this reunion yet again, along with a few people from the past seasons. That included Brett and Tiffany, Alexa and Brennan, Chelsea and Kwame, Colleen and Matt, and then of course Micah, Izzy, and Gigi. So Gigi is now pregnant and her boyfriend are expecting a baby boy. I'm not sure if you guys remember her, but I think it was Gianna or Giannina or something like that. But either way, we're just gonna call her Gigi, but she was in the first season of Love is Blind, and y'all remember how crazy that relationship was. Now, first in the hot seats were Jeremy and Laura, and I mean, mainly it was just Jeremy and Sarah Ann going back and forth with Laura and everybody else on the cast, so it was just kind of like mostly them for like a good almost 50% of the reunion. Like everybody else got probably less time because they wouldn't shut up, but we're just gonna move on with them. Now, Jeremy and Sarah Ann are still together, which I'm shocked by because in my other video I did say that I wasn't sure if Jeremy was just gonna end up being single at the end of this, because he just strikes me as the type of person that just does slimy, underhanded stuff. So yeah, I feel like it wouldn't be in his character to like just solely be with one person. I feel like he's probably gonna do the same thing to Sarah Ann that he did to Laura with another girl. I'm just gonna be real. But either way, they live together now and they honestly kind of deserve each other because of the reasons that I mentioned. Clearly, Laura, Jeremy, and Sarah don't really care for each other, but Laura is tuned in via Zoom. Now, apparently he did apply to the show after recently breaking up with his fiance, and I believe him. However, I do think you are going into things a little too quickly. You're thinking about literally marrying someone right after you said you were going to marry somebody else. You find somebody different on this show. Like, you don't think that's a little too fast? That's a red flag for me still. But this man had gone on to say, when they were asking about the whole sharing location thing with Laura, that he didn't intentionally lie about his location to Laura, because he obviously was at Sarah Ann's house. Laura could see that on her phone, on her end. So I just don't understand why he didn't just come out and say, you know what, I lied, I messed up, it is what it is. Like, why keep saying things like I didn't intentionally lie? Like, please, sir, stop it. Laura and Jeremy continue to go back and forth about the details, but Kwame's face this entire time is basically how I was looking when I was watching all this go down, because I was like, wow, this is just wow. Sarah Ann, of course, tries to defend herself and her man, and the entire time I was just like, girl, please just shut up. Hop on that jet ski and ride away at this point, because that's all y'all good at. Because in terms of y'all actually making sense right now, it's not working out too well. There was also some never before seen footage of Sarah Ann approaching Laura about the DM that she'd sent to Jeremy. But I think Laura kind of already knew that this relationship was ending with Jeremy and just was kind of warning Sarah, but clearly she didn't heed the warning because she still ended up with Jeremy. But still, I'm like, yeah, that's still weird to me that you sent that DM, Sarah.
You think he's like an all talk, and then like
100%.
once you're in the situation,
100%.
really?
I don't believe a single word that he says. I think he was a literal fucking clown robot in the pod.
Now somehow Jimmy ends up getting kind of dragged into it, and apparently Jeremy had called him a villain, which he was, but they both kind of were, really. I was like, it's interesting that you're pointing at Jimmy, but it's like, Jeremy, you are basically the same person, just in a different body. Also, Jeremy was talking about Jimmy's looks, which I find pretty interesting because it's like both of y'all kind of look funny looking, but I know Jimmy in particular was getting dragged over on TikTok. Oh my god, they was likening him to like so many different like animated characters. I was like, ooh, oh boy. Anyways, so Nick also asked AD about her thoughts on Sarah Ann's apology, because if y'all remember, I'd spoken about how AD had ended up speaking to Sarah Ann about her DM and all that. Basically, he was asking her how she felt about it, and even AD said that it was kind of irrelevant and null and void, basically. because she still chose to pursue Jeremy. So that apology clearly meant nothing to her. And that very same day, she was on a jet ski with this man. So clearly she wasn't really sorry. Now, apparently Sarah Ann no longer talks to any of the women on the show. And according to Chelsea, that's because she unfollowed all of them, but not their fiancés. So that was a little bit of shade being thrown, okay? Sarah's response was, "You guys iced me out of the group chat." And then she proceeded to start arguing with Jessica about her not being a girl's girl and how she wasn't really supporting her. And I was like, I mean, how is there much to support, Sarah? You look bad. Like, I'm gonna tell my friend if she doing something stupid and it look bad. You know what I mean? So even though no one's been seeing Sarah Ann, everyone has been seeing Jeremy around. And according to Chelsea, they're broken up every other day, which wouldn't really surprise me.
Just curious if any of you have seen Jeremy in the subsequent time.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Every time I see him, they're broken up.
But Jeremy says it was just because of real life relationship stuff. And I quote, "But to be honest, when you take into consideration everything, and then also what I mentioned about Jeremy, and in terms of his personality, like he just does not seem like the committed type, it makes sense as to why they would probably be breaking up every 2 seconds." So Sarah Ann had also got called out about her video where she was just calling the show entertainment, which it kind of is. It is a show for entertainment purposes, but the question here is, do you also think that the relationship that you're trying to build or that other people's relationships are strictly for entertainment as well? But regardless, Laura is dating someone right now, so I'm happy for her. And she also apologized for the bean dip thing again when it came to AD, because obviously that was very inappropriate. But I'm kind of more mad that Jeremy brought it up, and he also apologized for bringing that up as well. But yeah, it was definitely uncomfortable to watch. Let's move on to Trevor. So obviously people were rooting for Trevor at first until they saw that he was actually still with someone and even texting her while he was heading to the show. They had footage during this reunion of screenshots of him texting this woman. So they expose all these messages, and then they let Trevor pretty much explain himself or try to explain himself, which he struggles to do, and he's just really quiet for like a good, I would say, feels like an eternity, honestly.
I had a whole thing planned to say. I don't know.
So he comes out and he says that he didn't specifically ask her to be his girlfriend, talking about this other woman. He said he was just originally going on to the show to find someone that he wouldn't actually go for in real life. But even Nick points out the fact that this man was saying "I love you" in his text messages to this woman, and now he's trying to say that they weren't even together. Yeah, that looks highly suspect. So he was trying so hard to explain himself, but it wasn't working. And Brittany pretty much ends up saying it best and summing up everything and just says, it was just so disrespectful, which I think it really is, because why? You know, what if someone had actually chosen you? Like, what if Chelsea had chosen to pick you over Jimmy? I mean, either way, the decision would have sucked now that we know what we know. But, you know, it was like she was stuck between a rock and a hard place between Trevor and Jimmy at this point. But either way, yeah, it was just really hard to watch. And Trevor just ended up walking away all awkward. But oh, it was cringe. Oh. So now we have Clay and AD. Now, apparently a lot of time went by before they actually ended up speaking to each other after the whole altar situation. And Clay had ended up calling her after a while and they talked. But AD was literally getting emotional talking about this whole thing. And Clay is just sitting there staring at her with this blank face, blank expression. So he said he felt bad and even tried to apologize to all of her friends and family after that episode. But he even says that if he got the chance to do it again, he wouldn't change anything. So I was really confused by that. You know what I mean? It's like, well, okay. And he even says that if he got the chance to do it again, he wouldn't change anything. He wouldn't change his response or how he said it. But she was and is still the love of his life. But he feels like he did make a mistake letting her down like that. So I was really confused by that statement for sure, because I'm like, okay, how is she the love of your life, but then you turn her down at the altar? Like, I'm really confused by this, Clay. He said he was going to therapy for his parents' situation and the impact of that, but I kind of don't believe him, but at the same time I want to, but yeah, I kind of don't all at the same time. But AD claims that she would never date him again, but he would 1000% date her again. But he really is a walking red flag that needs to be avoided at all costs. But AD says that the conversation that Clay's parents had on camera kind of gave her more clarity about what was going on with Clay, and it gave her a little bit more of an understanding about why he did what he did. But at the end of the day, I do think that he should have been upfront with her and honest and just say, hey, I'm just not ready, and just avoided this entirely. But you know, I do hear that they have to pay some type of fine or fee or something like that if they don't end up going through to the altar or something like that. I'm not sure exactly what the rules and regulations are with regards to that, but that's just what I heard. So maybe they still had to go to the altar regardless. But yeah, I think he could have saved her so much time and just broke up with her beforehand. Just be like, you know what, I can't do this. Because he could tell how committed she was, but it's like, I don't know. Also, there were some things that I saw with regards to AD having a sugar daddy, according to one of Clay's friends. So I don't know, but at the same time, it's just kind of like, I mean, who cares at this point? Clay missed it. Unless while she was also on the show, that entire time she was dating Clay, if that entire time she had a sugar daddy, you know, I would look at it with a side eye. But if she's single and not messing with Clay at all, like they don't have nothing serious going on, then I don't care. I don't care what she does. If she wants to have a sugar daddy, okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, who cares? Clay done messed up. I kind of don't blame her in that situation. But when I watched, I think it was Access Hollywood or some other YouTube channel, they had also done some behind the scenes interviews with some of the cast, and Clay, you could tell, was still kind of smitten at the time, but AD was like, yeah, I'm done. We are flirty friends. We mix and mingle. We're casual, but nothing serious. And I kind of believe her, but at the same time, I do think they are still messing around, because casual could still mean they're friends with benefits, you know what I mean? But in terms of her taking him seriously, I wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't. Johnny and Amy, they were the shortest, to be real. There wasn't much to say. They seemed to be having a pretty good time with each other, traveling around from country to country, making fun videos. And there wasn't really much to talk about, to be honest. There's no real drama. Now, they did have a Q&A section that the past cast members had asked the season 6 folks. But the most interesting question for me was the one that came from Micah, asking Jimmy about how his friend, who he used to smash, mind you, how she feels about Chelsea exposing their little secret on the show. Y'all, I would have been like, before I even get into Jimmy's response and Chelsea, what they say, I just want to say, I don't care. I do not care about that woman's feelings. I don't. I know that sounds bad, but it's like, nobody knows this chick. If they did show her on the show, like, okay. What would be weird is if you're still friends when she tries to obviously be with somebody else. That would be weird, because now that person knows that, oh, you aren't just a friend to her. Y'all used to smash. Y'all got something else that was going on. Like, that relationship was not strictly friendship. And it's also weird for Chelsea this entire time when she was on this show. How did you expect her to just be okay with this? How did you expect her to just be all right with y'all hanging out all the time and being friends when I know y'all had that type of relationship in the past? Like, how did you think that was gonna play over, Jimmy? How did you think that was gonna play over? Like, really? I just think that was really bizarre that he was just like, yeah, you're just gonna need to trust me. But it's like, really? How? I just personally think that regardless of Chelsea saying it, it was gonna come out anyway from somebody else. Somebody was gonna say something and that business was gonna be put out there. So if she didn't say it, I'm sure someone else would have brought it up. So let's be real here. But apparently Chelsea also has some type of friendship or relationship still with her ex-boyfriend. So they're kind of both weird in that way. But Chelsea does deny that they hang out all the time, but Jimmy keeps saying that. So I don't know. I don't know what to believe here. But let's move on to Jessica. So Jessica gets put on the spot about her conversation with Jimmy at the lake. But I don't think it was necessarily a spark. I don't think there was a spark for Jimmy. It was just more so like an attachment thing, because it kind of, you know, talked about some deeper things in the pods. But they kind of knew it wouldn't have worked out between them. And I don't think it would have worked out either, mainly because of Jimmy though. But according to her, Jimmy had been out here lying on these interviews that he was doing, basically saying some things that didn't necessarily happen the way that he said it, in terms of their like building of a relationship in the pods. But Jimmy was trying so hard to shimmy his way out of that one, and it was just a little annoying. But the show came with receipts, honey. Okay, every time someone denied something, there were receipts. Okay, so I love that. But they had a little bit of footage from Zach and Bliss baby shower, which was so cute. We found out that Alexa and Brennan are also expecting, so I'm excited for them, as they were actually having some fertility issues at one point. So I actually didn't know any of that until I saw a TikTok video where she kind of explained that journey. So good for them. I'm happy for them. Now, Brittany and Kenneth. So they did actually stick to the no sex thing, and Kenneth and Brittany both said that they didn't really feel like they needed to engage sexually at all. And they also brought up the phone thing with Kenneth. And of course he, said that because he's a principal and he was away for so long, that's why he had to answer so many messages and call people. And I was like, sir, they would survive. We trying to find you love here. Everybody on this show has jobs and everybody made it work. Okay, so I'm gonna need you to stop using your job as your excuse to being on your phone 24/7. He also didn't seem that fazed by the breakup from Brittany, and he again has an answer for that, basically saying that everyone kind of processes things differently, and he called Clay in shambles later on. But I still don't think he really gave a crap about that relationship. Okay, you cannot convince me otherwise. But they apparently do still talk to each other every day, but they're not in a relationship, but they are pretty good friends. But I hope that when they do find their persons, that they can respect those relationships. Now, moving on to the last portion, which is going to be about Matthew. So Matthew was of course invited, but he declined, understandably, because he knew he was going to be put on that hot seat for sure. But they do discuss where he got found out about him saying the same thing that he was saying to AD to Amber, and they also showed that. So we do match it up. And it was definitely very awkward to watch Clay's response, because he was watching AD talk to Matthew in a romantic type of way, and you could see him getting really uncomfortable. Now AD even looks back to see his face, and it was just hilarious. But we didn't really need the receipts to know that Matthew was playing them both. We knew he was already a liar, so this was just verification. Now apparently AD did meet up with Matthew after the show, and they had 2 dates together. Now the first one was where he kind of apologized for everything and how it looked, or how everything went down, and he even cooked for her on the second date, I guess. Some rice and chicken, which was nothing really special, but he tried. But things really fizzled out pretty quickly between them, because they have 2 totally different lifestyles and want very different things, according to AD. But Clay kept it cute and didn't say anything crazy about the meetup, which he shouldn't have anyway, because he had his chance. Okay, let's be real. In the end, apparently Chelsea, as in Chelsea and Kwame, is now helping to cast the Love is Blind shows. So I guess I can partially blame her for these terrible seasons then, because this casting has been interesting. Now Izzy, Micah, and Jessica also announced that they're going to be on the second upcoming season of Perfect Match, but I honestly didn't really see any real meaningful relationships formed on that show in terms of, them actually going anywhere. So if they want something serious, I would suggest that they just stay off the shows for now, but I will definitely be watching that season. I can tell you that. I love my entertainment. But y'all let me know your thoughts on all this reunion madness down in the comments. Obviously, most of it went towards, like I said in the beginning, Jeremy, Laura, and Sarah Ann. But yeah, I think everybody else should have gotten way more time to talk. I think Jimmy and Chelsea definitely had a lot more to talk about, but we're not going to go there. I think I've spoken about them enough. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.